I never figured I'd spill this out loud. But here we are. Being married left me lonelier than I ever felt flying solo. Name's Dylan, 37, running a gym out in Tucson, Arizona, for the past dozen years. I'm no life coach wannabe or Instagram guru. Just a guy helping folks move smoother, feel stronger, and tackle their day. I fix stuff, bodies, routines, even bad vibes. But my marriage to Lillian? Yeah, that's one puzzle I couldn't crack. We crossed paths at a buddy's birthday barbecue back in 2016. Lillian was sharp as a tack, with a snarky charm that sucked people in like a magnet. She worked as a school counselor, always probing how you're holding up but keeping her own cards close unless she was making a point. And boy, did she love making points. We dated 2 years before tying the knot. It wasn't picture perfect, but it worked. I was the chill, steady one. She was the fiery, life-of-the-party type. Early on, we had fun. We laughed, took a few trips, had nights where we'd just wing it and hit the town. There was spark, connection, all that good stuff. Then, poof, it started fizzling out. Hard to pinpoint when, maybe around our 3rd anniversary, that's when the warmth vanished, like someone yanked the plug and didn't bother plugging it back in. I thought it was her job stressing her out. She had this rough case with a teen in a dark place, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. Fair enough. I backed off, gave her room. I stepped up, whipped up dinners, cleaned the house without her nagging, even gave her those foot massages she used to love. Figured if I kept showing up, we'd find our groove again. Spoiler alert, we didn't. Months dragged into a year. Lillian barely looked at me. Hugs turned into those awkward side squeezes, kisses into quick pecks, and anything more intimate? Maybe once every couple of months, and it felt like she was just checking a box. I tried talking about it real gentle like, "Hey, you good with where we're at? Feels like something's off." She rolled her eyes and snapped, "Dylan, I'm wiped. I don't obsess over that stuff like guys do. Chill, it's not a big deal." Ouch. I let it go, but inside, I was starving for connection. People think guys only care about the physical stuff, and sure, that matters, but it's deeper. It's about feeling wanted, chosen. When the woman you love treats you like you're just the guy who pays half the mortgage and unclogs the sink, it guts you. I gave it another shot 6 months later. Took her to a fancy steakhouse, slapped on some cologne I hadn't touched in ages, played the whole romantic part. We had wine, cracked some jokes, and I thought, maybe we're turning a corner. Back home, I leaned in for a kiss in the hallway. She kissed back for, 2 seconds before pulling away with a smirk. "Sorry, Dylan. I don't just flip on like a light switch anymore," she said, all casual, like she was reading the forecast. I stood there, stunned, not even mad at first, just hollow. It wasn't just that she wasn't in the mood. She was saying she didn't feel it, period. And the way she said it, like I was supposed to just nod and deal. I didn't argue or guilt trip her, just gave a weak nod and crashed on the couch. That became my new normal. Couch for a bed, cold shoulders, and silent dinners. Enter Michelle, Lillian's younger sister, 29, fresh out of a long relationship and working some digital marketing gig. She needed a spot to crash while hunting for a new place. I wasn't exactly doing cartwheels about it, but I said fine. Lillian, though, she was all jazzed to have her sister around. They hadn't shared a roof since college. Michelle rolled in like a tornado, loud, brash, always barefoot, blasting Spotify playlists in the living room. She'd yap through every movie, munch cereal straight from the box, and strut around in these baggy shirts like the house was her personal dorm. Total opposite of Lillian, open, unfiltered, and larger than life. At first, I kept my distance, let her do her thing. She caught on quick that I was camping out on the couch and threw me a few curious side eyes but kept her mouth shut. A few days in, though, she started prodding. One night, while snagging a beer from the fridge, she goes, "So, you and Lillian always live like you're in a monastery or what?" I shrugged. "Lillian's been exhausted lately," I said, throwing in some air quotes. Michelle raised an eyebrow and smirked. "Yeah, Lillian's been exhausted since she was 20. If it's not about her, she's too over it to care." I didn't bite, just let it slide. Later that week, I dragged myself home from work around 9:30 p.m. Lillian was already conked out in the bedroom. I warmed up some leftovers and sat in the kitchen, too drained to even flip on the TV. Michelle strolled in, rocking one of those oversized shirts. Pretty clear there was nothing underneath, and poured herself some water. She leaned against the counter, eyeing me for a beat before dropping the bomb. "So, Lillian told you she's not exactly feeling the vibe anymore, huh?" she said, her tone dripping with that same snarky edge her sister had mastered. I froze mid-bite, fork hovering like I'd been caught stealing. Didn't even ask how Michelle knew, sisters gab, whatever. I gave a slow nod, and she tilted her head, her eyes softening like she was sizing up a kicked puppy. "So what, you're just supposed to play monk now because Lillian's checked out?" she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I didn't answer, just sat there, mute. She inched closer, her gaze locked on mine, voice dropping low. "Then let me." My heart slammed against my ribs. Every nerve in my body screamed this was wrong. Twisted. A one-way ticket to disaster. But for the first time in years, someone looked at me with heat, not boredom or pity. I bolted up, didn't say a word, and bailed outside. Stood by the pool in the dark, staring at the water like it held the answers to my messed-up life. I didn't sleep that night, not out of fear, but because I finally felt seen. And that scared the daylights out of me. I didn't plan for any of this, hand to God. When Michelle dropped that line in the kitchen, my body wanted to stay. Oh, it really wanted to. But my brain was blaring, "Run, dude, run." So I did. I left, stood by the pool for over an hour, just breathing, trying not to lose it. But saying no once doesn't make temptation disappear, especially when the woman you love treats you like you're invisible in your own house. After that night, things with Michelle got charged. Not awkward, but like static electricity crackling in every glance, every silence. She stopped hiding that she was into me, and I stopped pretending I didn't notice. Lillian, she was too wrapped up in her own drama to see it. She'd drag herself home from work, flop on the couch with her takeout, gripe about her exhausting day with an eye roll, then vanish into the bedroom, door locked, sometimes before 9:30 p.m. No hug. No "how's your day, babe?" Nada. It was like living with a roommate you can't stand. Except this roommate used to be your whole world. "Don't expect me to play wifey, Dylan." She'd snap if I even hinted at wanting more. "I'm not your personal cheerleader." Michelle, though, she filled every void Lillian left. One night, she whipped up spaghetti and garlic bread, nothing gourmet, but it was hot, plated up like it meant something. She teased me, called me out on my quirks, asked real questions, not just small talk. And her outfits? Let's just say she wasn't dressing for church. Tank tops that slipped off her shoulder, no bra, loungewear that barely covered anything, always barefoot, always close. It wasn't tacky. It was deliberate, like she knew exactly what she was doing. About 2 weeks after that kitchen moment, Lillian announced she was ditching me for a girls' weekend in Glenwood. Some spa getaway with her work pals. She left Friday after lunch with a half-hearted wave and a "don't forget to feed the dog, 'kay?" No goodbye kiss, just her usual "I'm over it" vibe. So there I was, stuck in an empty house with Michelle for 2 whole nights. I should have bailed, crashed at a buddy's, stayed with my cousin. Anything. But I didn't. Friday night, I got home late from work, and the house smelled like heaven. Garlic, onions, red wine. Michelle was in the kitchen, barefoot as always, rocking one of those sleep shirts that barely hit mid-thigh. She flashed a grin. "Hope you're hungry, big guy." I was starving for food, for attention, for someone to actually see me. We sat at the kitchen table, chowing down on pasta, sipping wine, cracking up over some cheesy reality show she roped me into watching. It was easy, warm, like slipping into an old favorite song. After dinner, we moved to the couch, threw on a movie I couldn't name if my life depended on it. My head was a mess, replaying that kitchen moment, her words, the way her voice curled around them. Sitting next to her, the space between us felt too tight, heavy with something unspoken. Then, out of nowhere, she hit me with, "Can I ask you something?" No pressure to answer. I glanced at her. Shoot. Her eyes searched mine. Do you still think about her? About how things used to be? It was a loaded question, emotional, physical, all of it. I took a breath and answered straight. Every day. Not because I want to, but because I don't even know who she is anymore. The woman I married? She's gone. Michelle nodded, her voice softening. I see how she treats you like you're some annoying errand boy. I watched her at that table, brushing you off like you're nothing, and I wanted to shake her. If I had someone who looked at me the way you used to look at her, I'd never take it for granted. Her words landed like a sucker punch, and I just sat there, reeling. Then, she leaned in. Not all dramatic or pushy, just slow, soft, like a whisper. Her hand brushed my cheek, and she kissed me. For a split second, I was a statue, heart pounding like a jackhammer, every nerve buzzing like a live wire. I wanted to pull back, to play the good guy, to say no. But I didn't. I kissed her back, and that was it. The line I swore I'd never cross. Obliterated. We moved together, not in some wild, reckless frenzy, but careful, intimate, like two broken people trying to glue each other back together. Afterward, we sat in silence. I raked my fingers through my hair, catching my breath. She leaned her head on my shoulder and murmured, "I'm sorry." I didn't say anything, couldn't decide if I was sorry or just alive again. That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house, the fridge humming, the dog scratching, the AC clicking, made me jump, not because I feared Lillian catching us. She was gone. I was scared of what this meant. Deep down, I knew this wasn't a one-off screw-up. This was a game changer. Saturday blurred by. Michelle and I barely talked, both of us chewing on what happened. But her glances? They said everything. No shame, just a closeness. A secret too delicate for words. Sunday night, Lillian rolled back from her spa weekend, dumped her bags, gave me a half-hearted nod, and breezed past me to the bedroom. 5 minutes later, she was in bed, glued to her phone, back to me like I was a piece of furniture. "Hope you didn't starve without me," she quipped, her voice all snark, no warmth. For the first time, her coldness didn't sting. I felt free. I realized something I dodged for months. She stopped picking me ages ago, and now, I'd stopped picking her too. They say truth sets you free, but nobody warns you how heavy it feels when it's sitting there, staring you down. What happened with Michelle wasn't just physical. That'd be easier to shrug off. It was the connection. The way she saw me. The way I laughed without forcing it. The way I felt human again. Not some burden dragging behind Lillian's perfect life. I didn't feel the guilt you're supposed to feel after cheating. I felt pain. Tons of it, but not from crossing that line. It came from seeing how dead my marriage already was. How long I'd been kidding myself. When Lillian got home that Sunday, nothing changed for her. She kicked off her shoes, tossed her bag by the door, and muttered, "There's a wrap in the fridge if you're desperate." That was her grand hello, like I was her errand boy, not her husband. I watched her disappear into the bedroom, face lit by Instagram, like I wasn't even there. For the first time, I didn't chase her. No questions about her trip, no forced small talk, no begging for scraps of attention. I stood in the living room, finally swallowing the truth. We weren't married anymore. We were just two strangers waiting for someone to call it. The next few days were quiet. Not tense, just hollow, like a house nobody lives in, even with the lights on. Michelle kept her distance, but we both felt the elephant in the room, sucking up all the air. Then Wednesday hit. I got home late from work, dropped my gym bag by the door. Lillian was at the kitchen table, eyes red, lips tight, holding my phone like a judge with a gavel. My stomach plummeted. She didn't speak at first, just held up the screen like it was evidence in a trial. I saw the text from Michelle. "Last night felt like something I haven't felt in years. I hope you felt it too." Boom. No more hiding, no more tiptoeing around it. I stood there, didn't deny it. What was the point? "Yeah," I said, voice flat. "That's it." She stared at me, eyes wide, waiting for me to grovel, to cry, to beg. "You slept with my sister, Dylan?" she hissed, her voice shaking with rage. I nodded. I did. She shoved the chair back, the screech echoing off the tile. Her hands trembled. Her whole body coiled like she was holding back a scream. How could you do this to me? That flipped a switch in me. I met her glare head-on. You quit touching me over a year ago, Lillian. You laughed me off in front of your friends, made me sleep on the couch, told me you're not into that anymore like it's my job to just deal. You didn't care how I felt, didn't even ask. You expected me to shrivel up and take it while you checked out of this marriage. And now you're playing the victim. She looked like I'd slapped her. You don't get to pull that card, Lillian, I said, keeping my voice steady. You bailed on us long before I did. You just didn't pack your bags. She stormed off, slammed the bedroom door. I crashed on the couch again. But this time I didn't feel crushed. I felt clear. The next day, Michelle was gone. Left a note on the counter. She was sorry, couldn't stay, didn't mean to blow everything up. I don't know where she went, and I didn't reach out. Part of me wanted to, but the smarter part knew this wasn't about her anymore. It was about me finally standing up for myself. Later that week, Lillian tried to talk. Sat me down in that same kitchen where it all started. She cried buckets, said she'd felt disconnected for years. Didn't know how to tell me she'd lost her spark without making me feel small. I thought you'd just wait forever, she said, voice cracking. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just didn't know how to fix it. I nodded. I know, but you didn't try. Then I said what I'd been holding in for months. This marriage is done. You don't respect me. I don't trust you. And I'm not living like this anymore. For the first time ever, she begged. Promised therapy, swore we could fix it, said we could heal together. But I was already gone. Not just physically, but in every way that mattered. She'd left me long ago. I just finally said it out loud. I filed for divorce a few days later. That was 7 months ago. Now I've got my own place. A quiet apartment with wood floors and a view of South Mountain. Tom, our dog, lives with me. Lillian didn't even fight for him. The gym's thriving. I picked up extra shifts, started running Saturday boot camps. Watching people push through their pain, sweating it out, reminds me healing's a choice you make every day. Michelle? We haven't talked since she left. What we did was messy, impulsive, wrong in a lot of ways, but I'll never forget what she gave me. A moment of clarity, a reminder I'm still a man, still worth being seen, touched, wanted. As for Lillian, she texted me 3 weeks ago, said she misses me, thinks about me every night. Didn't realize how broken we were until I walked away. I didn't respond. I know who I am now, and I'm done waiting for people who forget I'm here.